So welcome to the Digital Maddy Show with your host and host Miithyl, a show made exclusively for solopreneurs, artists and coaches who wants to build their digital empire. With 15 plus years of business experience, I cover topics on personal branding, content creation and digital marketing on the show and invite many experts who share the same passion like mine. Today we have an amazing guest on our show. She owns a six-figure online business selling a unique handcrafted skincare products, especially for dry, cracked skin. She started as a simple farmer market booth and then took it online. She also raised 9 children along the way, teaching them business skills and strategies to develop a marketable talent that earns them a sustainable income. And I am super excited to have her here because all solopreneurs, artists, and coaches who are also parents, this is a must episode to listen because not just you're going to get a lot of ideas on the business, but also how can you include your kids also to be a part of your business. So without wasting much of our time, let's bring our guest on the show. She is none other than Renee Harris. So welcome, Renee.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So Renee, requesting you to please share your backstory with all of us.
Yes, I will start with, I was not one of those children that said, when I grow up, I want to be an entrepreneur and have 9 kids. So I'll start with that. That wasn't something that I thought of. I do think that when my husband and I got married, we both agreed we wanted a large family. But to me, large was 4 kids because I didn't know anybody who had more than 4 kids. We didn't have a large family background. We just knew we wanted to have kids. So starting with that, we got married, started having some children, and fast forward to at the time that we had 7 children, my husband was in a tech career. Fortunately, he had been able to work from home for part of that, so we really enjoyed the fact that he was at home and I was at home also and raising the kids. We also homeschooled from the very beginning. So I know a lot of people are adjusting to homeschooling now, and having that thrown on your lap, I can imagine, is very difficult and it's a big adjustment. We kind of knew from the start that we wanted to homeschool, so we had that to our advantage from the very beginning. So as far as starting a business from home, his career was starting to look a little bit shaky because of the tech. A lot of people were getting laid off. We were close to the Bay Area, but not living in the Bay Area in California. So we really enjoyed where we lived, though, and we wanted him to be able to stay at home with us. And at the same time, I wasn't working anymore. And my background is in teaching. I was a high school public school teacher in the past, but I had not been working while I was raising my kids. But I was a stay-at-home mom and I was making products at home, products. I was just doing a lot of getting into learning how to make soap. I like to make yogurt. There's just a lot of home type things that I was enjoying. But I always had one problem with my skin, and that was that it was very, very dry and cracked. So the things that I would enjoy doing in the kitchen was also very painful, because if I'm trying to cut lemons, for example, and you get that lemon juice in your fingers, it doesn't work. It really hurts really badly. So I did discover, though, that there was something called a lotion bar, which I'd never heard of. But a really quick story on that one was that I had searched in some of the soap forums that I was in to find out what this was and why it seemed to be so effective for dry skin. And I learned how to make it at home. It was very easy. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. But with just 3 ingredients that I found at my natural health food store, I was able to make this thing called a lotion bar. That is now, fast forward till now, has become our full-time family business since 2009. We took it to a farmer's market, then we decided to take it online, and then we decided, okay, forget the tech career from my husband, let's just jump all in and do this as a full-time family business. And so that's what we have been doing since 2009. We had a couple more kids along the way, and we decided that to do this and make it not just sustainable for us, we wanted to also empower our kids to learn business skills, because we didn't want them to go down the same road that we both went into. By the time we got married, we had a ton of student debt that we had to pay off. My husband, even though he had a tech career, it wasn't stable. He had to depend on an income from somebody else to pay him. And it wasn't using his gifts and talents that he thrived in. He wasn't passionate about his career at all. So we decided we don't want that for our kids. We want them to have the opportunity to either become entrepreneurial or learn something on their own that they love so much that they become passionate about that. We used homeschooling as a way to grow that. So starting about the age of 12 or 13 for kids is perfect because they want to be known for something and they want to get really good at something. And we found through experimenting with our own kids, that's a really perfect age to get them started on a skill. So that was one of the reasons that we built this over the past 13 or 14, 15 years that has now become, through all these circumstances, something that's been really beneficial to our family and be able to leave a legacy for the kids too.
I'm excited, and what a journey, Renee. Awesome. Awesome. Of course, there will be ups and downs. There will be times when, as parents, we get scared. But then, yes, eventually the Almighty has amazing plans and everything works well. Super cool.
Yes.
So, Renee, tell me one thing, with kids all around and, both the parents are working from home and building their business. So, how have you passed on your business ideas to your children so that even they also become entrepreneur like you?
Well, for one, I know what often may happen when parents own a business. They may decide we're going to groom the kids to take over our business. That's one mindset, and that could work out totally fine. I actually have a daughter who I hope, who she is 11 now. I would love to have her become the lotion maker and the lotion seller because my other she's the second to the last, so she is child number 8, and none of the others have decided that that's what they want to do, so they're not taking over our business. But at the same time, there's so many different ways that you can involve your kids in the business and teach them business practices. And it ends up being easier on the family. So for example, we would, if as we're developing the talent, that's part of it, is that you learn to identify some of those passions that the kids have. So with our firstborn, he was about 10 when we started. He decided he was interested in photography and he was interested in music and he was interested in video. So we would have him do our product shots for us. So he would get really good with a camera. Now we will invest in his skills. So we will have him take the photography classes online, or sometimes it's learning music from a local musician, or whatever the thing is that we would like him to have. We're taking his interest, his passion, and then we're applying that to our business to be helpful to us in the business. Now, all of a sudden, he's not just, I'm playing soccer on the weekends and it's all about my soccer skills and I'm going to become this world-class soccer player, which a lot of parents, that's kind of what they end up doing is the kid wants to play soccer, we'll put him in soccer. Our weekends are, not that there's anything wrong with that, but what if he had a passion that you could actually apply to what you're doing at home and he becomes useful? Then he's only going to want to continue that and get better and better at that, with lots of pivots along the way, but he's getting better at that. He's useful in the business. He sees that what he's doing is important and we're getting benefit from it because we don't have to go pay a photographer. So yeah, there's little things along the way. You don't do that to your 6-year-old. We're not going to hire our 6-year-old to be our photographer with no skills and say, hey, good job. And then you've got a bunch of junk online. So they have to get better. You have to be the parent to say, well, it's not light enough. You need to do this differently. Can you go learn how to do it with the better lighting and then come back and show us? And you pay them for their skills. So now they're a valuable part of the family and the business, and they're realizing that I want to keep doing this. The best part as a parent, when they are earning their money from you, so there's at least in the US, there's all kinds of tax write-offs with that. They're earning money from you, and now they want to get better photography equipment, or they want to get the light box to use. So all of a sudden, it's helping your business grow. So now that's one of my children. He has now become, and he's the oldest, he's actually a drone operator, independent drone operator in the state of California. So he manages other groups. He's hired by our electric company to go and do a lot of the drone footage. He's not even out there on the field anymore. He manages the others. So he's one child. Another one was very much into gaming, like many 12-year-olds start. They want to just play games on the computer all the time. And he would be playing, for example, Minecraft at that age. And we would say, well, if you want game time, which we would reward after he did certain work, we would reward him with game time. We'd say, you need to make that game a better experience for the other kids that you're playing Minecraft with. So what can you do to make it a better experience? Well, then he goes off and learns, oh, you can create these plugins. And I don't know all the technology, so I might not even be just describing this correctly. But he learned how to create different plugins for these games that he would play online. And then all of a sudden, all these kids are coming, oh, can you make it do this? Can you make it do that? He's kind of playing the game, maybe 10% of the time. 90% of the time, he's making it better, and he's enjoying that process a lot more, because now he's getting attention from these kids, which every kid wants that. So he's getting attention from the kids who want him to make it a better game. His coding skills are becoming amazing. He is my right-hand man. Now he works for somebody. He's an independent contractor for someone who builds WordPress sites. So he knows WordPress really well. He helps me with my Shopify e-commerce site all the time. If I have a problem, he can go in there. He knows exactly how to troubleshoot. And it's not that he has all of the knowledge, and this is a difference between today's children. It's not that they learn in school and have that bucket of knowledge filled and they go apply it. They just have the ability to find the answers, which I think is a huge skill to have. So you don't have to know everything, but if somebody says, hey, how do you do this? Then they're able to actually go and they know how to find the answers, which is a big difference in kids today than when we were growing up and we didn't have, or at least me, I didn't have the technology I didn't have Google at my fingertips when I was 18. So that's a big difference. And when parents recognize that, they have to capitalize on that. And so now this coder has a twin sister opposite from him, and she is my artist. She's an amazing graphic artist, so she helped us with some of my graphic arts, and then she now does commissions for other people when they want her to, and she could create logos. And so it's all these skills that you build as they are in the business, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the business. I have one that was interested in bladesmithing, has nothing to do with making lotion, but we allowed him to go discover that, create a forge in our garage, make knives. We knew enough about Instagram to say, yes, you're allowed to have an Instagram account. You're 14 years old. However, we're monitoring all of that, and we're going to watch the interactions. And while the kids are under your roof, you can say, that guy, how he's talking to you, stay away from him. Sometimes kids don't understand when they're 14. So the parents still have to kind of monitor. Better to do that while they're under your roof than when they're out on their own and they're thrown into a college setting or something where they don't know how to handle all this different technology stuff. So and with us, by the time he was 16, he would build these huge following on Instagram, to the point where he was selling his knives using Instagram. And then that profile that he had was basically a whole portfolio of all of his learning, because that was another thing. We made them document. Even if it was a mistake, it's even better if you document your mistakes, because then he got hired by a knife making company, not because he went to college and had a degree, but because he had this huge portfolio showing how much he had learned and how he knew his skill really well. And he just got right in. They came after him. He didn't have to go pursue a job with somebody else. He already had enough status because he had been in that niche. Again, it wasn't us saying, you're going to become owner of our business someday. You're going to follow our footsteps. Instead, we're creating the environment, and he's looking for the tools, and we're coaching. It's almost like a parent becomes a coach then at that point. So that's just a couple of examples of how we've built this little family empire, I guess.
Absolutely. Like, I can understand a huge family, and it's like, it's completely resourceful, and now each of them are like departments, and it can actually make it's actually a family empire. So definitely that's super cool.
And what's nice about that too is that they know each other's skills and talents. Like, they know who's good at what, and they help each other. So the siblings rely on each other for help too. So it's really nice to see that, where if they were in a regular public school setting, and this is the way I remember growing up, is my sister, who is only 2 years older than me, and then I have a younger brother 1 year younger than me. We were never in the same class. We never saw each other during the day. We would see each other at night. By the time we got home, we might eat dinner and then we're off again. So we didn't have a chance to really build those relationships with each other. And but with our kids, they're around each other a lot, for one. And even if they're doing their different activities, as adults, they're always on the phone calling, can you help me with this? I've got a computer issue, so he'll go to Nicholas. And another one, if she wants art, she'll go to Noel. So they have their different skills and assets to help each other, and that's really helped the sibling relationships build.
So it's basically trying to complement each other and working like a teamwork.
Yeah.
That's incredible, Renee, and I think the parents will be super proud of it.
Yeah, it's really fun for me. My favorite days are like Mother's Day. When everybody comes and I just watch. I watch the show. They're not necessarily coming to talk. They are talking to me too, but I love to watch their interaction, especially now that we have 5 adult children that don't see each other all the time. So when everybody comes for a family event and just sitting back and watching the show is so fulfilling.
Wow, wow, that will be truly an a beautiful experience to have, and I'm actually getting goosebumps right now. So Renee, you raised 9 children, you run your own family business. So what did you cut out to make all this happen?
That's a good question. And I was talking to someone who was interviewing me about a week ago, and by the time we finished, and then she and I were chit-chatting, and she said, "You just sounds like you have it all together." And I thought, "Oh, that's not the impression to come across." No, you have to give up. That's the main thing, is that I remember when I had 4 children. So I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then I had twins. So I had 4 kids, ages 4 and under, and I didn't have any help. And at that time, my husband worked outside of the home, so it's not like we could just tag team. But it was a lot of work, and people said, "Oh, you must be so busy. You're not having any more, right?" And I said, "No, I see people who are just as busy as I am, but with different activities." And so for us, we had to make a lot of decisions along the way to say, we are not doing what everybody else is doing. You have to ask yourself, do we have to do what everybody else is doing, or can we do something differently? And you can always change your mind. So if someone's going into the school year and deciding, okay, I've got to do this activity, I'm going to have my kids in this, and this. When you have 9 kids, you can't do that. It doesn't work to have mom, driving kids around to all the different activities. It's just, there's no way. And so even when I just had 4, I couldn't just go out with friends to the mall and hang out for hours. So we had to get creative. I can have people friends come to my house with their kids, but every step, no matter where you are, you have to cut things out and make decisions. When we decided right from the start that we had to make decisions that were going to benefit our whole family unit, just our immediate family unit. And that meant we don't need to travel every holiday to the in-laws' house or whatever. We had to decide what is going to work best for us. And then what becomes nice is, as the kids get older, a lot of things become easier. So you're able to do some of the things that you didn't get to do early on, but now you're more able to do things. And so I think we said no to a lot of things in the beginning, and so that we can establish kind of an atmosphere of this is how things work. Same thing with, it's easier sometimes to just let your kids just be gone all day long playing with friends and then come back at night. And it might make your life as a entrepreneur easier, but you don't know what they're doing when they're out there for so many hours. And if it's a good environment that they're in, or they're learning and growing and thriving, and they're also having a good time, but not stressed out or whatever, then that could work out. But if you're just letting them go and dealing with problems when they come home, that stress is going to increase. So for us, it was better to make sure that the environment that our kids were in was going to be what we would approve of and was good and safe, and still make sure that if we had to say no to something to them, you have to replace it with a yes. Because I know, especially as a mom, I know for me, you don't like to say no to your kids. They want to go somewhere or do something, and you have to say no. Sometimes no is enough. Other times, if you feel like, wow, this poor kid has no friends because I just don't like that kid. This kid's a bad influence. My kid's saying bad words every time he's hanging around that other one. You have to replace it with a yes, meaning you need to find that one replacement. So who can be a good influence on that child, or what activity is worth it for that child to participate in. So a lot of it is just deciding everybody is busy, and we all use that as an excuse.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you, Renee, and that's exactly what happens. So, Renee, I have this is primarily going towards a personal question. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I'm super proud of her. And during COVID pandemic, I was just thinking it would be much better, because I was going through a lot of homeschooling videos and everything, and I could see that most of your kids are also homeschooled. So I won't say convince me to homeschool, but what's your take in that?
Okay, first of all, you have to decide what are the requirements for your state or country. So we live in the state of California, and we have certain requirements that we have to meet. Some states, they require lots of testing. One thing that we like about our state is that they are definitely so many hours of certain areas and subjects they want covered, but within that you have a lot of freedom. So when you realize how much freedom you have, you have to change your mindset next. So my background was as a teacher, a high school teacher. So I had done that for many years. I was trained, but the difference is when you're in a classroom with a whole bunch of kids, it's almost like you have to fill these buckets, and that's how all the testing is based on. Like, do they know this? Do they know this? Do they know this? And we switched things around. So whatever bucket we feel like they have to fill, or they have to understand a certain concept or historical data. Sometimes it's just there, and it's in one ear and out the other. And we saw that, and we were frustrated with the fact that, are we just going to make them read a book, take a test? They'll forget they're not going to remember it. And then it's the next book, and you feel this pressure. I've got to finish the curriculum. They've got to get a good score on the test. And with that kind of mindset, it takes a while to detox. And you have to, in fact, when people start to homeschool after they've had their kids in school for a very long time, there's this time of you're so used to the way that we've been educated, you have to think outside the box, is kind of what we describe this as. So for example, let's say you have to cover a piece of history, and you know that, well, there's all these dates and so on that they need to know. We would prefer that, let's say my bladesmith son, very interested in bladesmithing, he has to study a certain time period. We're going to say, study that time period, but find out what kind of weapons, for example, are being used during that time period. Get really good at that. Understand what's going on, and then fill in. They'll understand the data, the experiences around that time frame when they have something that's more interesting to them. And then you can say something like, okay, take that, and then I want you to study a little bit more about metals. You're interested in making knives, so let's kind of pull some chemistry in here and decide what do you need to know in order to. There's all these heating temperatures on at what point things melt and so on. So a lot of the things that they would have to cover for history or chemistry or whatever, it would be talent driven. So it would be driven by what their interest was. If in case of your daughter, if she has to study the 1800s in a certain country, you could say, and let's say that she's very interested in clothing and fashion or something, say, okay, I want you to find out and discover what were they wearing during that time period? What events were happening around that time period that would affect, what they wore, how they looked. If she's interested in art, say, and then I want you to draw pictures around that. So you can get very creative rather than just filling out the data and the stuff. And with homeschooling, honestly, there's so many different ways you can do it. And here in the States, there's something even called unschooling, where it's only let them pursue what they want to pursue. We don't go that far at all, but we have a lot of benchmarks along the way that we want them to accomplish. And there's always going to be things they don't like to do. It's not about just let them do what they're passionate about. There's definitely, you need math, we're going to do math. So you're choosing the curriculum that best serves the child. And from one child to the next, it might look different. It might be a completely different curriculum. So you just decide based on the personality of the child there, but the interest is really a big deal for us. And also, and this is something I would tell parents, public school, private school, however you school, is that we're so used to saying, if the child comes home in the States, it's like an A, B, C, D, F level, F being bad, A being great. So if the child comes back and they get a couple A's and then they get a C minus, we jump on that C minus and say, you need to spend more time on that and get that up to an A or a B at least. Instead, we're saying, you know what, you're really good at these A's. We'll spend some time on that C minus and get that going. But let's really get that A to an A plus. Let's keep pursuing that to see what other areas in that field of interest will help you in life, and maybe you want to pursue more of that, and you want to go beyond the A. So spend more time on what they're good at and not be so stressed out about the things that they didn't do as well in, because some kids just won't get it there and it's not their interest, and they're not going to pursue something in the future that's related to that subject.
Thanks, Renee, for throwing light on that. But being an entrepreneur, and homeschooling, so we need to balance both. Otherwise, eventually it will tip off somewhere or the other. So, what's your take on how do you balance homeschooling as well as being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that is really is different for everybody. So I'll tell you my way of doing that. I'm a morning person, and so I have found this routine of 4 a.m. is my start time, and I love it. I never would have thought that I could do it, but I've got this little accountability group that I'm in, like a mastermind, and there's a bunch of other ladies in the room, and we're doing a Zoom call, but everybody's working on their own stuff. And so I'm probably the earliest in the morning. I'm 4 a.m. Somebody else at 7 a.m. their time in their time zone. But that for me, I'm in there. I'm working from 4 to 6, and I get a lot more done then than I do from 8 to noon. I mean, I can cram in 2 hours with. So first of all, it's finding that sweet spot of when you won't have any interruptions, and go with that. I have the benefit of having my husband at home, so we both tag team on the homeschooling. So in fact, even today, this morning, he would give my daughter a math assignment to work on, and then she had to complete that and then come back and get it checked by dad, who's working on our businesses, but he can stop 5 minutes to give her some guidance, and then she goes back and works on it. So there is a little bit of that. We have our hard stops of you cannot interrupt mom or dad. Like right now, I just yelled out to them, I'm on a call, no interruptions. Okay, mom, they know we've got those. We have that established, and you have to have that established. And especially if you're just suddenly an entrepreneur when you hadn't been before, or you're suddenly working from home and the kids are used to just barging in and talking to you at any times of the day. But then you also have to put in the times when you can sit, focus, look at them, and not try to answer people on the text while they're talking to you. You really have to put the things, because you're also modeling, what kind of behavior you want them to grow up to be like. So if you put things away, you sit and chat, and even if it's only 5 minutes, I noticed that if I just take that 5 minutes, I have a 6-year-old that she's my youngest. So if I took 5 minutes to go and just play with her, or work with her on something, or have her read a book to me or something, that is super important, to just take that break. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I got to go back in there and work. Sometimes I'll put the timer on. Say when the timer dings, you can come and get me and we'll do something else. It also forces me to stop, because I'm always like, boom, boom. I'm driven to keep going and try to catch up. And so many solopreneurs know that you're never finished. There's always more to do. But having that little child stop me and say, okay, mom, you said it's a break time. And then I go spend 5 minutes. It's a break for me. I'm not sitting, I'm standing, I'm moving, and making a snack, whatever. And then we can go back into our little blocks of time. And there's times when we only have 4 in the home now. We had all 9 in the home at one time. And during that time, I had a very strict schedule that we would follow. So in half an hour blocks, everybody had a certain thing they had to be doing during that half an hour block. And a lot of times in our family, we could do this. I would have, the 16-year-old helping the 9-year-old with math. So they're blocked together. And during that 30 minutes, and we do 30 minutes because that's usually kind of the attention they can spend on something before they get bored or start to bother each other or start poking or fighting. And then it switches. So we would keep a very strict schedule, and that includes making lunch. We don't even make lunch most of the time. It's the kids that will that's our big meal, is lunchtime instead of dinner time. But we have one of the kids will be in charge of making lunch, because we've trained them to do that. And then somebody else after is in charge of cleaning up. So a lot of those things that parents just do because they figure, it's easier than me trying to teach the kid. You have to teach and train the kids a lot of the responsibilities. And let me tell you, that benefits them. Your kids are a lot more attractive to the parents of children that they may be marrying in the future. I mean, it just becomes a huge benefit to see that, like, oh, wow, I'm so glad you your son knows how to cook. And, you know, that attracts the girl that wants to marry him. So there's so many benefits.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Renee, we have come to the end of the phase one of the interview, and I have something in store for you. So, we have the phase two, which is called as the rapid fire round, where I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You would not get time to think. So, are you ready and excited?
I'm a little nervous, but okay.
All right, let's zoom in and make it more intense. All right, so let's go with the very first question. So, Renee, what is the one thing that you will be putting in your bucket list for 2022?
Let's see. Business wise, well, I want to expand. We have a product-based business, so we make these little lotion bars for men and women who have a dry, cracked skin. Then we turned that into a foot challenge where I had people who said, "Let's get your feet ready for sandal wearing." So that was we're going to make those cracks and splits in your feet. So we did a challenge. We're in the middle of that this week actually, and that was something very different. It's a product-based business, but we're doing something practical for people every day of the week. So I want to decide if that is something that we would continue doing, make it a digital evergreen or something that we actually do live, or decide no, people aren't interested. So I need to come up with a way of knowing, was it worth it? Do we continue it? Do we expand it?
Awesome, awesome. Second question is, who do you admire the most?
Oh, I have to say my husband, because I would not have thought to live this type of life that we're living now had I not married him. And he was born in the U.S. but raised in France, and then went to high school in Germany, and then came back to the States. So I feel like he is someone who thinks outside the box culturally, but then we've applied it to so many things, which is why I feel like I'm not normally a courageous person. Like if he would have said when we first got married, let's do this, and fast forward to what life looks like now, I would have thought, oh, I don't know, that's not me. But because it's a process and you see and you learn along the way, I admire him for getting me on board with that. And I loved it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so you stay in California. Let's take you to LA. So, okay, if a movie was to be made on your life, what genre it would be, and who would play your role?
Oh, I did not see that one coming. Let's see. Oof. I would definitely. I think I would want it to be a documentary, because I feel like that people would learn and apply the most if it was a documentary. Um, oh boy, who I don't know. Um. All right, just because I'm thinking that was a show I really love to watch, A-list, and I can't remember her name, Jennifer somebody. That, because she was so powerful when she was in that show, and yeah, so very very likable. That's the kind of person, the role I would want to have played.
Awesome. I was having one name in my mind because you resemble a lot like her. And there was a movie also which was made. Sandra Bullock was.
Oh yeah.
I don't recollect the name right now, but then it was such a beautiful movie of family bonding and how various cultures they came together, and how it, like, I won't term it other way. So let's go ahead, and now since you have raised 9 kids, these 2 questions, I am excited to hear what the answers would be. So who is your favorite, who is your favorite cartoon character and why?
I thought you were gonna say who's my favorite kid. I can't do that one. Favorite cartoon character and why? Oh my. It's been so long since I've watched. Yeah, I just remember my favorite cartoon is the kids watched it, is Oswald. Just because
Yeah,
it was so peaceful. You know that one? It's so peaceful, and so
absolutely.
I can sit there and the kids could watch it again and again, and it was calm compared to a lot of cartoons today.
Absolutely. Oswald was really good. All right, so we come to the last question. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
Oh, let's see. Um, I think when you picture someone and you can't, the name is just completely disappearing. That's so terrible. So did you say superhero?
Absolutely.
Superhero. Oh boy. See, I just don't watch enough. Um, throw some out and I'll tell you because I.
Okay. Uh, how about Wonder Woman? You're doing an amazing work.
I used to watch. Okay, I used to watch Wonder Woman all the time as a kid. Okay, there you go.
Lovely.
I also like the one where the twin. This is way back. Oh my goodness, this is going to date me. But in the 80s or late 70s, the two twins that they could do this little thingy
True,
night.
true.
Then they all had their superpowers. I think I just remember that because I have
Awesome.
twins. So
Awesome. Awesome. Lovely. So thank you so much, Renee, for playing this rapid fire round, and I'm sure that you must have enjoyed too.
thank you. Yes, it was very good. Thank you.
Awesome. So Renee, all the people who are listening to this episode, if they want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Well, there's two ways. So because of the product that we created back in 2009, and that is our business now, and it has gone to tens of thousands of people. We can't do as much all over the world like we used to because shipping restrictions have become so difficult. But it's a free sample for that. If anyone says, "Oh wait, I have dry skin," or "I have even mild eczema," because our product helps with that, or allergies because there are only 3 ingredients, is hardlotion.com/freebie, and you can go get samples, including a lip balm. And everybody uses lip balm. I think that is the one that every you know, both genders use lip balm. You need it if you are a traveler, almost anywhere you live. It seems like that's the one thing that people will have as a skincare product the most. But we also have what I would love for people to try is our hard lotion bar, which is what can fix the cracks and splits in your fingers and your feet and your hands. So that would be one. You're also welcome to email me, Renee at hardlotion.com, if you have any questions. And then the other one is our passion project that it has become bigger since COVID, and that is called parentingtheirpassion.com. And we've come up with an entire strategy of how we have built the talents and interests in our own children without breaking apart your family time, like without making mom and dad drive all over the universe to get kids to different places. So that's parentingtheirpassion.com. And it is not just about finding the talent, which is a big part of it, finding the interest, but merging interests, like maybe you have a child who has two interests, and but identifying those. And it also involves finding the assets that you have in your family or extended family or where you live. Some people who live in a big city may have a different asset than somebody who lives out in the country. So there's looking for the assets, and then finally being able to bring value to somebody else. So it's useless if all you're doing as a child is consuming, consuming, consuming. And what we encourage parents to do is have your child produce. So we take parents, and we even have now a course that's coming out for children between the ages of 12 and 16, so that by the time they're 18, they're not coming in like either still living with you because they don't know what to do with their lives, which is okay too in some cases for them to live with you, of course, but that they have a future that they can build on and they have a direction. And you don't want them to be 25 and not knowing what they want to do with their lives. So if they can be already making an income by the time they're 18, and that can project their future of whether it's to go on to further education or to start their own business or to get them in the workforce, but whatever it is, they have something that is showing what they can do, and they are giving back. So that's what parent their passion is all about.
Awesome. Awesome. So Renee, I still want to talk a lot and I want to ask a lot of questions, but yes, we have time restrictions. But yes, definitely I would wish to have you back again for another episode where we can go more deeper into this subject. But before we end this episode, Renee, what is that one message? Because we have audiences like solopreneurs, artists, coaches who have a passion, they have a dream to create a legacy, to create an empire, and of course they also have to have a work-life balance too, and you have done an amazing work in that department. So what is that one message that you would wish to give to them?
I think everybody only has, if you have children, you have just that one opportunity per child to do something. And I think no matter what it is, if you are, and I know people come from so many different situations, but no matter what situation, if you are solo parenting or if you have several children, or no matter what, you have this one thing, one person that you are for a time, a short time, because let me tell you, it goes by fast, you are responsible for. And you don't have to sacrifice your entire life so that they can pursue their dreams. I think there has to be a balance, but you can work together so that the child is helping you and you are helping the child. But I think really taking the time to be intentional about the decisions and the way you spend your time, how they are educated, what they decide to pursue. But the more you really intentionally start that, the younger, and it doesn't have to be 5 or 6, but as like your daughter's age, starting around that age of 9, especially if by the time they're 12, they are already developing something that will make your life so much easier when they hit the 14. Because right now, she looks up to you. She thinks you are the most wonderful person in the world. She's going to later on, she's going to question that. She's going to have all these other conversations in her head, people talking to her. And so you need to really work that relationship and those skills that she has, and then you will make her successful, and that will be just a happy reflection on how you raised her.
I am able to imagine and visualize what you just said. So we'll take some private sessions from you too.
Okay.
Lovely. So thank you so much, Renee, for taking out your time and giving so much valuable tips on very crucial, very important, and the foundation of everything over here is building your own legacy and also including your kids into it. And yes, the brand is your brand is primarily looking forward for taking care also for the people who have dry skin and how to give them the platform to also enjoy their life and be very comfortable. So amazing. Thank you so much, Renee, for that.
Thank you very much.
And looking forward to have you again very soon with another episode with a brilliant topic like this.
Oh, that sounds great. And even my husband would love to chat too if you want his perspective, which may be very different from
Absolutely.
mine. You never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we both love to.
I think both of you and me, we can have a brainstorming session like in an interview, and I think it will be beneficial to many people.
That would be fun. I would love that.
Awesome. So thank you so much once again, Renee.
Thank you.
Lovely. So you have just listened to the Digital Maddy Show with your host Miithyl. Thank you so much for listening to our show and giving so much love. If you're listening on any podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to it. And if you are watching it on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can again watch many other people, many other guests coming and sharing their lots of value to you. So this is Miithyl signing off at the moment with Renee at this time. Meet you soon with another guest and their exciting stories. But until then, keep rocking, stay safe, and don't forget to keep creating content. Ciao.